Namaskar, Dada.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, everybody. Thank you for joining us again here on Tantra Thoughts. Today I'm interviewing Dada Ranjiitananda, who is a teacher and teaches Tantra. We're going to be talking about Tantra and microvitae. So thanks for joining us, Dada.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're a monk of Ananda Marga.
Yes.
So please tell us a little bit about what is Ananda Marga and what is your role as a Dada, which is the name for a monk in Ananda Marga.
Okay, Ananda Marga actually is a way of life. Marga, which means the way or the path, and Ananda means bliss or infinite happiness. So the idea here, in contrast with other ways of life and philosophies that talk about suffering, in Ananda Marga the idea is moving towards bliss, or moving towards infinite happiness, or moving towards self-realization. As an organization, we exist to make people know it, or teach it practices so that people can have the means to move on this path towards happiness, or inner happiness, infinite happiness. And my role as a monk, and we say Dada actually means brother. So my role is, I don't have family attachments, so I can go anywhere in the world, anytime. And in the past I have been to places like Greenland or places in Africa, because this philosophy of this knowledge belongs to the humanity. And so we cannot neglect that because somebody is born in Greenland, in a very remote village, that he or she should not have access to this knowledge.
And the ideas that you're talking about in Ananda Marga is largely coming from Tantra.
Yes. Right. What is Tantra? Tan means to expand, and Tra means to liberate. So the idea is to expand the mind, therefore small ideas just break apart. Limited ideas, ideas of separation between human beings, and ideas of exploiting other human beings. So all the small ideas just break because your mind is expanding, is becoming more universal. So Tantra is a practical process how this can happen, how this expansion can happen.
Okay. Do you want to give us some more details about that? How would somebody that practices Tantra expand their consciousness?
Okay. The basic idea is, as you think, so you become. So meditation is to think about the infinite. As we think about material objects, we become more materialistic. But if we think about, let's say, the supreme consciousness, it means it's a very large idea, very abstract idea in the beginning, but just to have a method to think about it, it already starts expanding the mind. And it brings this idea that we are all part of this same infinite consciousness. So that's already bringing people closer together. In Tantra, there is a very deep analysis of the mind. And to understand better the mind, it is kind of divided in, let's say, chambers. And starting from the conscious mind, and then going to the subconscious mind, and beyond. And if we can develop these different layers of mind, or purify them, or calm them down, then mind gets expanded. As an example, if you go in front of a lake, sit by a lake, and the surface of the lake is very agitated, plus the water is not so clear. When you look at this lake, you will only see the surface, and you will think that that's it. But if that water is very calm and crystal clear, when you look at that same lake, you will see that inside there are fish, there is vegetation, there are so many other things that you never thought were there before. So in the same way, the mind is like that. the surface of the mind is very agitated, we think that that's it, and there is nothing more. But the moment I can calm it down, it kind of opens a new dimension, and I see that there is more. And as the deeper you go, you start discovering new dimensions. And each of these dimensions is more expanded than the previous one. Like the subconscious is more expanded than the conscious. As an example, when people dream, many times the experience that they get in the dream is much more vivid, more involving than the experience they get when they are awake.
Really?
Like the dream seems much more intense than living in the daily life.
I never thought about that
experience?
I never thought about that, Dada. I'm thinking of my dreams right now, if it feels more real than when I'm here.
You are in a dream, you get really involved into it, and then you wake up and the life is again, let's say, flat. No, that's in a certain way, because in the dream you are in the subconscious mind, so the limitations of the senses which are in the conscious mind are not there, so your experience is more intense. Now that is just going from conscious to subconscious. Now imagine going from subconscious to the deeper layers. It will be similar.
What would you call the deeper layers?
Well, you can use the word superconscious in the sense that it's beyond, or you can use the word unconscious. Okay, but even these words, like say conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, there are some limitations. And in our philosophy, sometimes we use like supramental for the third layer, because it's like beyond mental.
It goes into the realm of the spiritual, the realm of the divine, or?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's say there is conscious, subconscious, then let's say supramental. Then the next one we call it, well, the words in English are not very specific. That's why in philosophy we use Sanskrit. So like the third layer would be Ati, Manas, Kosha. Kosha, it would be layer. Ati would be it's beyond, or supra. Then Manas is mind, so supramental. The next one would be Vijnana. V means special. Jnana means knowledge. So the layer of a special knowledge. And then it comes another layer, which in English we could say causal, or in Sanskrit we would say Hiranyamaya.
Causal meaning the sort of the first cause that would create effects.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So it would be like the base for existence of the mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, in another video, we're gonna discuss more this topic on the koshas.
Okay.
So, how would you say Tantra is practiced in different spiritual organizations or in different spiritual traditions?
Tantra is actually anything related to expansion of the mind or spirituality is within the scope of Tantra. Like for example, even people who are worshipping idols, which we can say, oh, that's a very, let's say, undeveloped practice. Means it's not a very simple practice, but still it's a practice. And being a practice, it comes within the scope of Tantra, but that is kind of not a very advanced practice. And then comes more advanced practices and more advanced practice. And the thing is that people also learn gradually, because one starts from where one is.
Right.
So you start from where you are, and then you take a step further and another step further. And in the Tantric practice, there is a constant presence of a teacher or a spiritual teacher. We can call in Sanskrit a guru. So one learns practices and then as one develops, can learn more practices. Now the difficulty is to find what is the minimum necessary that you have to practice so that you move at maximum speed.
Right. So I appreciate that. So you're basically not putting Tantra in any box, right?
Right.
And maybe even saying Tantra can even be, elements of Tantra can be found in Christianity.
Sure.
Because in the end, it's whatever would be expanding somebody's consciousness.
Yes. A lot depends on the teacher.
Right.
Because if the teacher knows and can teach well, then you develop quick. If the teacher teaches well but doesn't know so much, you still will learn. If the teacher doesn't know, then you will not develop much. You may do a lot, but you develop not so much. It's like everything in the world. You want to learn music, you learn from somebody who is good in music plus good in teaching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Dara, you know, you're a teacher, right? And how do you like to approach this to a student? How do you advise somebody to learn it? How do you teach it, to represent it well?
Well, I usually start from something simple.
Yeah.
That the important thing is that the people will do it.
Right.
Yeah. So it has to be something within the capacity of that individual to do it regularly.
Right.
Because that's what brings progress. Suppose somebody learns a lot but doesn't practice. It's like eating. You have a lot of food in front of you but you don't eat it.
Exactly.
You will not get nutrition.
You'll eat it tomorrow, but by tomorrow it might spoil.
Yes.
I want to jump now to another topic which is still related to Tantra, and that is to the theory of microvitae. Please tell us, what is microvitae?
Microvitae was first explained by my teacher, and the title he said is the mysterious emanation of the cosmic factor. And he said that mysterious is when we don't understand something, then we call it mysterious. With that idea, it is not that easy for us to understand microvitae, but it's supposed to be the minutest particle of life. So micro, small, vita, life, and that will be plural, vita, or microvitum or vitum as singular. So this microvitae will be like the minutest particle of life, or basically what creates life. It means that microvitae, like a concentration of microvitae, will create other beings, will create like millions of microvitae joined together, let's say, will create carbon atoms, which is what we think is the origin of life. So this microvitae is something even smaller than that.
And your teacher, who is Sri Ananda Murti.
Right.
How do you think he was able to develop this idea? I mean, did it come intuitively? I think that's a fair question. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, it's a mental investigation, let's say. The laboratory is your mind.
Right.
And mind has capacity to perceive things that are beyond the senses.
Let me add something. For example, how did the yogis discover chakras? When chakras are not a physical thing, it came through years and years of practice.
Yes.
And so I just want to add on to what you're saying. So likewise, something like microvitae could also be discovered due to years and years of deep practice through yoga and Tantra.
Right, exactly. Let me make an effort to give an idea.